Hello, now today we're going to discuss a new unit. This will be Unit 3. We're going to begin with Chapter 14, which is the law regarding transfer of title. In this chapter, there are going to be about 6 objectives. First, we want to explain how title and certificates of title relate to the concept of ownership. Secondly, we want to distinguish between real and personal property, and I'll indicate to you that this chapter on title transfer regards personal property and not real property. Real property will be a separate chapter that we're going to cover in the coming weeks. Third, we need to describe how title passes, and we're going to discuss 3 concepts that really may sound a little ancient: bill of sale, bill of lading, and warehouse receipts as ways of transferring title. Now, these terms are probably new to most of you. We have adopted modern day terms that mean the same thing, so we're going to talk about what the modern day terms we use are. But the significance is that these particular bill of lading, bill of sale, warehouse receipts, these things have a well-established law that merchants use. So once you understand what we're really talking about in today's culture, then it'll make more sense to you. We're also going to talk about the law that governs lost and stolen property, and the idea of giving title that is no better than the title that you own. A further principle we're going to talk about is what we call estoppel, the principle of estoppel and how this applies to transfer of title. And then finally, we're going to talk a little bit about fungible goods. So this is the unit that we're talking about here, Chapter 14, Transfer of Title. Now, we begin with the idea that our country recognizes that private ownership is one of the unique things about our culture. There are many countries, the old Soviet Union, for one, in which the state owned everything. Until recently, China has had that communist system that among its many earmarks is that there's no private ownership of property. As China evolves and becomes more westernized and more involved in commerce, they are recognizing that people are more productive if they have something in the game, if they have a stake in the game. In other words, ownership of their personal property, ownership of their real estate. These are motivating factors in a capitalist society. So we take for granted that everybody has the right of ownership, but this is really a relatively new concept that has evolved from the state owning everything, whether that's the czar, or whether that's the king, or whether that's a dictator, to the concept of individuals being rewarded for their efforts and being allowed to have ownership. So what we're talking about here is title as it relates to property is an intangible concept. Now, this word needs to be understood. Tangible and intangible are, of course, opposites. Something tangible would be like this book, like this screen, like this wall, like this building we're in. It is tangible, meaning we can get our hands on it, we can feel it. Intangible is something that exists, but it is not something that we can get our fingers on and touch. It doesn't have volume and mass. But that doesn't mean it is not important. It's just that it's intangible. So what we say here is we sort of split, maybe you say we're hair splitting here, but you split the idea of ownership of this item, this book, as opposed to the title to this book. So it's important to understand how title transfers and how commerce works, is to understand this difference between title as an intangible concept. So that when we talk about the sale of property, we say the owners sell not only the property, but also the intangible right of ownership called title. So when you buy an automobile, you're not going to get the car, you're going to drive it off the lot, it's going to be yours, you're going to have the keys, but you're also going to get a certificate of title, which you can show to all the world is proof of your ownership. So ownership is more than just possession of it, but some document that we recognize as being proof of title. Now, when you go to a department store to buy something, you get what the law would call a bill of sale. A bill of sale is used as proof of its ownership.